media is the biggest psyop on the planet, but y'all still watch it. Y'all still fall for their schemes. Y'all still let them divide. Y'all still let them give you labels and you pick a side. Y'all still let them magnify the negatives of black culture so that the world has a bad taste in their mouth about black people. Y'all still let them magnetize racism so that the world have a bad taste in their mouth about white people. It's all a psyop. It's all a program from the upper echelon to keep us apart, to keep us fighting, to keep us off of what they're doing. Keep falling for them. Good luck.
Jay, can you hear me now? Hello? All right, that looked better. All right, Jay, let me know if you can hear me. All right, I went on that entire diatribe and then and no one even heard it. So we're gonna try this again. So welcome in everybody. Thanks so much for showing up. Really appreciate you being here. Jay Jensen in the house. Welcome to the Chris Highland Show. We got a great show for you today. This woman is absolutely correct. The media is 100% a psyop. The media is propaganda. They tell you a story, not the story. She's 100% correct. They pit black against white, rich against poor, Republican against Democrat, all in an effort to keep us fighting each other and not seeing what's really going on with the globalist cabal of corruptocrats. Well, Jen Psaki was on a podcast and she signaled the quiet part out loud. As you know, Comcast has already signaled back in November that they want to sell their stake in basically MSNBC. They want to spin it off. They want to sell it. They want to get rid of it. Why? Because it's a drag on their ratings and it's a PR black eye to the rest of their news division, NBC and CNBC. CNBC especially is somewhat fairly well regarded. And NBC, I think it's complete propaganda crap, but it does not have the same bad image that MSNBC does. And everybody knows that MSNBC is nothing but a big propaganda psyop machine. Well, Jen Psaki admitted that part out loud. We're going to dive into that. We've also got we've got a great show for you today. We got that. We're going to be talking about the Russia-Ukraine peace initiative, what's going on with that. And then we've also got, finally, as many of you know, Klaus Schwab is out at the WEF. Why is he out is a good question. And who's going to replace him? Is he better or worse? We're going to dive into all that today on the Chris Highland Show. Really appreciate you being here. Thanks so much for rolling up. If you could, please like, subscribe, comment, let us know you're here. And if you like this comment, please share it with everybody that you know. Cindy V in the house. Thanks so much. Let's dive right in.
And Jen Psaki is telling the truth for a change on why MSNBC is just an echo chamber for the left.
There's obviously a rooted value in the kind of like that MSNBC viewers expect of like, we're going to talk about the opposition and we're also going to talk about Trump, and it's typically not going to be positive. I don't think anybody watching expects it to be positive, right?
All right, Dana, I heard you react to that.
A couple, yeah. Oh, go, sorry.
Well, you know what the question is. I mean, there you've got Jen Psaki saying, well, they expect us to not like Trump.
Yeah, well, and yeah, but we know that she had a lifelong Democrat, worked for Obama. That's how I first met her in the Bush to Obama transition. That's when we became friends. And then she worked for Biden. Like we all get all that. One thing.
How are you friends with this woman? I mean, Jen Psaki, unlike Karine Jean-Pierre, who everybody knows is the worst press secretary to ever stand upon that stage. I mean, the woman is a complete buffoon. The binder, who doesn't even really know what was in the binder. Karine Jean-Pierre was a complete failure. Jen Psaki, on the other hand, was a polished liar. Jen Psaki was not incompetent. Jen Psaki was merely 100%, or it was just flat out evil. Jen Psaki lied for the administration, knew she was lying for the administration, and did it with a straight face, not caring about the ramifications. So I don't know how this woman's friends, but they are talking about the right thing, which is the fact that Jen Psaki admitted on this podcast that they only push a narrative. They only push propaganda because they think, A, that's what their audience wants, and more importantly, that's what the globalist cabal, the people who pay the bills, want.
The thing that's interesting is that when anybody goes against type, it is interesting and it can really help. Yeah. I was reminded of this one time at the briefing room. We were under the gun when I was press secretary. President Bush's numbers were bad. And a reporter says, well, what are you going to do? Because your numbers are so bad. And I said, well, there's only two entities in this town who have worse numbers than us, Congress and you. And that was back then. So then fast forward, and I would just look at the last 4 years. I think that the Biden acuity cover-up, that is terrible. And now all these books are being written about it. The fact that the White House said, oh, Joe Biden is running circles around us at the White House. We knew that wasn't true. They would say that inflation wasn't a problem. They said it was transitory. That wasn't true. They said that the border was closed. It wasn't true. I mean, there's all of these things. Plus, then you add all the democracy is going to die as soon as President Trump gets into office. See, that's not true. So I think that
MSNBC does nothing but peddle in lies. That's all they've ever done. Nothing that they have said has been true for basically years now. Now, this is a little bit more of what Jen Psaki said on this podcast, the Grill Room podcast. We are going to talk about what the opposing party is up to in terms of Democrats, and we're going to talk about future leaders and things, and we're also going to talk about Trump, and it's not going to be positive. I don't think anybody watching expects it to be positive. Oh, so regardless of what the truth is, truth be damned, we are simply going to present a spin. We're going to present propaganda, something from a distinct point of view. That's not like a North Star thing written on a card and everybody does it slightly differently. That's That's the vibe. We're all going to basically say Trump sucks, Trump's Hitler, Trump's a Nazi, Trump's terrible, everything Trump does is horrible, Trump's going to fail. This is ridiculous. I have, and then she goes on to say, I've not experienced this, like, you move to the center, you have to have Republicans on, you have to be more moderate. None of that. Every show has its North Star, and that North Star is Trump sucks. So this is where PMS, NBC, PMS, LSD, this is where all this is coming from. It's absolutely egregious. I mean, it's just ridiculous. What, do these people really think that everybody's that dumb? It's so anyway. With that, I want to dive in because some of you may not know that just how bad, if you haven't been there, just how bad it is at PMS LSD. So let's dive into this clip here. We're going to be talking about all the lies that they've told, not all of them, but just some of them. So here's Rachel Maddow basically whining that they're being thrown over for alternative media, for things like X, for things like YouTube. Check this out.
Elon Musk has apparently somehow convinced the United States government, specifically the United States Department of State, that the taxpayers of the United States of America should spend $400 million buying, quote, armored Tesla production units. Isn't it great and definitely not at all illegal or profoundly corrupt? Definitely not ripping us all off to pay themselves, right?
Donald Trump didn't give that contract to Elon Musk. Joe Biden gave it to him.
Elon Musk.
Oops. I mean, everybody remembers that one. So many lies. And then there was this one. Then there was this whopper that was perpetrated for months on MSNBC that started with Joey Scarborough. Check this out.
But comparing that guy's mental state, I've said it for years now, he's cogent. But I undersold him when I said he was cogent. He's far beyond cogent. In fact, I think he's better than he's ever been. Intellectually, analytically, because he's been around for 50 years. And, I don't know if people know this or not, Biden used to be a hothead. Sometimes that Irishman would get in front of the reasoning. Sometimes he would say things he didn't want to say. This is, and I don't really, I don't really care. Start your tape right now, because I'm about to tell you the truth. And F you if you can't handle the truth.
Biden is not mentally impaired, and F you if you can't handle the truth. Everybody saw it with their own eyes. And now we know it from fact. Now we know it from all the same insiders that peddled this lie, both in the media and in the administration, that Biden was absolutely off his rocker with dementia as a general category. Whether it was Alzheimer's, whether it was something else, he had mental decline, and everybody knew it, and they were covering it up. And it is for stories like the Tesla hoax. It is for stories like the Biden is competent hoax that that PMS NBC's ratings are absolutely abysmal. I mean, here's just some of them. And this is going back to right after the election. They are so bad. Morning Joe down 40%. Second hour down 37%. Mitchell down almost 40%. Ari Melber down almost 50. Joy Reid down almost 55. Hayes down 47. Wagner down 54. Lawrence O'Donnell down 60. Stephanie Rule is just a complete train wreck, down 67. The American public woke up and said, enough of the propaganda, lying, misinformation crap. We're out. We're going to go somewhere else. And the media absolutely started to freak out over that. Psaki, amongst others, started to freak out over it. Check this out.
One of the things that's changed even since I got involved in politics is just the rise of the percentage of people who get their information off of platforms that have no fact-checking mechanism and no accountability for having disinformation spread, right?
Right.
And as you know well, and I mean, when I got started in Democratic politics,
Now, she's talking a lot. One of the media outlets that they talk about is X. And this is an absolute, again, they are lying about their lying about their lying. X absolutely has fact checking built in. They have community notes right there built into the app where you can post community notes with data to say that a post has, factual issues. What they don't like and what they hate and what they rail against is there are no ideology based fact checking mechanisms. There is nobody out there lying about truthful posts that are on the platform. There is nobody out there spinning what would otherwise be a truthful story into a lie. That's what they can't stand. They cannot control the flow of information. They cannot limit the truth. The only way that disinformation and basically lies, let's call it what it is. The only way disinformation / lies / misinformation thrives in a society is when the truth is squelched. When the truth is put down, then lies can foster. If information is allowed to flow freely, the truth will always trump lies every single time. It just takes a little bit of time. That's all. All right, let's go.
Most of it was like local TV ads. That was what it was about. Obviously, national TV, local print. Those local TV is held to a higher standard of accountability than social media platforms in terms of having accurate information on their platforms. That is crazy. And so it is. How does it change? How are people held to account? Laws have to change.
I want to ask you about one thing that.
So that's what they really want. Laws have to change. Wait a minute. People aren't watching the mainstream controlled liberal media anymore. No one's watching our ridiculous propaganda. Laws have to change. We have to pass laws that prevent people from going to other sources for media because God knows we are liars and they have a combination of lies and the truth because like any other, human-based enterprise, X has absolute people out there lying on it, but the truth always wins in the end.
It's gotten some attention this week from the book, which was a story you told about President Biden looking at his watch after caskets had come back from Afghanistan. The story was not told completely accurately, which you've acknowledged. I know some of the folks, including some of the families of those soldiers who were upset by that.
That story was absolutely told factually in the alternative media. By MSNBC? No. But everybody saw the video for themselves. All you had to do was watch. And it was over and over and over again. Those Gold Star families were pissed. They were angry. They were upset. They were infuriated by the lack of respect that Joe Biden paid for their loved ones who died because of him, because of his botched, failed Afghan pullout, which was completely, was a complete clown show. And those 13 people died because of Biden, because of his ridiculous DEI military advisors, their woke nonsense. And he doesn't even have the respect to stand there while their coffins are brought out. What time is it? Oh, can I go yet? Can I go yet? Everybody saw it. It has nothing to do. Oh, that story wasn't told right. No, all you had to do is watch for yourself. Well, guess what? People are no longer watching. And why are they not watching? They're not watching because of any level of disinformation or propaganda or anything else. They are not watching because they no longer want to be lied to. Check this out. Oops, sorry about that.
People, and I'm sure you see this online every single day, who say you don't deserve to be here because you're not a real journalist. What's your response to them?
Well, I'm pretty sure the group of people in there spent, 4 years covering for someone who was essentially dead, and that's being charitable in my description of him, a president by the name of Joe Biden. So to all those people who are apoplectic over having new media voices, you guys failed, and that's why we're here.
The chair of the White House correspondents.
Absolutely. The reason that there is alternative new media in Caroline Levitt's newsroom is because the rest of the propaganda media failed. And they failed not because they were incompetent, but because they chose to peddle lies rather than the truth.
Correspondents Association, a group to the.
And everybody knows there is no certification to become a journalist. There's no test that you take. There is no body of standards that you apply to. It's not like there's a medical review board or the bar association. There is none of those things. You basically show up and say, I'm a journalist. And you can say, that's why you've got all these ridiculous propaganda pundits that run around saying, I'm a journalist, when they are nothing. There couldn't be anything farther from the truth. Joy Reid, Jen Psaki, Rachel Maddow are not journalists. They are propaganda talking heads. Now, Jennings was on CNN. He is the only thing worth watching at CNN, and he just owns these people. But he was on with a group of morons, one of them a self-described journalist and a professor of journalism, and what he had to say about new media types. People like me, people like Benny Johnson, people like Dan Bongino before he took the job at FBI. He called us freaks. We're a freak show because we tell the truth and because we don't subscribe to their propaganda nonsense. Check this out.
The problem is that the right wing, hello, Scott, has taken advantage of this situation, I think, quite cleverly, quite wisely. They've played into a weakness.
What situation?
The situation of media being under attack. And so they've created a situation where...
You've almost got it. Keep going. What the right wing is taking advantage of is finally the American people saying enough is enough. They're tired of feeling like the mass media screens out one viewpoint versus another in political coverage. They're tired of media institutions favoring one party over another. They're tired of narratives over factual stories. If I had any advice for 60 Minutes or anybody else, it would be just cover the news and try to be fair about it and stop putting your finger on the scale, especially during campaigns.
You're talking about the old mass media myth that you could...
It's not a myth. It's absolutely true. We just saw clip after clip after clip. Joe Scarborough saying that Joe Biden is as sharp as ever and F you if you don't think so. When everybody in the world knew that he was not. Everybody knew that he had serious mental decline, that he could not find his way off a stage. He could not complete a sentence. Mike Johnson, Speaker Johnson, met with him and he couldn't even remember executive orders because he didn't actually sign them. They were signed by other people and he didn't even know what they were. So no, it has nothing to do. It has everything to do with the fact that people are tired of being lied to. And this Jeff Jarvis clown, who's a quote unquote journalism professor, is nothing more than a propaganda ideologue dressed up as an expert.
Could have this thing that was in the middle, the Walter Cronkite saying, that's the way it is, when it wasn't for many Americans the way it was, when people were pissed off.
But people back in those days trusted the media, did they not?
No, they just couldn't be heard because there was no two-way. Now we have the internet.
Look at the Gallup polling. It was here, and now it's here. It's fallen off of a cliff.
Yeah, we do have that Gallup polling about trust in media, and now, as in recent years, and let's be honest, Scott, a lot of this is driven by the rhetoric on your side of the aisle.
I mean, it's not. You think it's driven by the rhetoric and not the performance?
Absolutely.
But my point is this:
Abby Phillips is another clown. It is not driven by the rhetoric coming from the right. It is driven absolutely by people watching videos for themselves. When you say that Joe Biden is as sharp as ever, and F you if you don't think so, and then everybody watches a video where he literally cannot get his own way off a stage, when he wanders around at a G7 meeting, looking at the sky, completely oblivious to life, when he goes to the D-Day celebrations in France, and he doesn't know where he's at. And he tries to sit down on a chair that doesn't exist when he gets walked off stage because he's such an embarrassment. People watched it for themselves and said, the media's lying. They're 100% lying. When they look back at what we now know about COVID and what the media said for the better part of a year, and they said, no, media liars, 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 we're out. They're out because they realized that the propaganda media was intentionally lying to them. Has nothing to do with rhetoric on the right.
If you're CBS or any other news outlet, the reason that you have lost trust ought to be obvious to you, and the way to fix it also ought to be obvious to you, and it has nothing to do with Donald Trump and everything to do with the product. Just try to make a better product that appeals to more people, and the way you appeal to more people is by not crapping on half or more than half of the country because of their values and political viewpoints.
Absolutely. Don't crap on half the country and don't lie to them. But they'll never get that because it's not about journalism. It's not about the truth. It's not about facts. It's about pushing the globalist cabal party line. That's 100%. It's about that, and it's about grifting for money, and that's all they care about. But thankfully, their reign is at an end. They are no longer the media. We are the media. They are now the propaganda media, and we are the media. As small as I am, people like me, people like Benny Johnson, people like Tim Pool, people like Joe Rogan, people like Benny Johnson, you name it, Trish Regan, Megyn Kelly. We're the media now. And people will get a much more balanced view because they can go to multiple sites and understand the bias behind them and then amalgamate the information for themselves. Now, thanks everybody for rolling up. We got a couple more segments we want to get to, but I just want to say thank you for being here. Jay Jensen, Cindy V, thanks so much. Really appreciate y'all. Please smash that like button, like, subscribe, and comment. And if you like the content, please share it with everybody that you know. Now, let's dive into the ongoing peace situation, peace talks, the Ukraine-Russia war, what's been happening lately. I want to dive into a segment by Fox that talks about, they caught Secretary Rubio on the tarmac, and he's talking about the fact that the U.S. is getting tired of this nonsense. Let's go.
So far apart that this is not going to happen, then I think the president's probably at a point where he's going to say, well, we're done. We're not going to continue with this endeavor for weeks and months on end. So we need to determine very quickly now, and I'm talking about in a matter of days, whether or not this is doable.
Marco is right in saying it. We want to see it end. If for some reason one of the two parties makes it very difficult, we're just going to say you're foolish, you're fools, you're horrible people, and we're going to just take a pass.
As the Trump administration works to determine.
Absolutely. So what we see now is the Trump administration is signaling that they might be out on the Russia-Ukraine peace talks. And the reason for that is because really both sides have been egregious. Now, from what I've been able to uncover, it appears that Ukraine is being far more intractable and stupid than Russia is. That Russia is actually willing to make a deal, even though they're the ones that have launched major attacks in the last few days. Since the Easter ceasefire, they have attacked Kyiv. They've advanced on other cities in the east. They've made major gains. They've had major attacks. And the reason is because I think Russia is tired of this nonsense too. But it's Ukraine, it's Zelensky that have acted like intractable idiots. Check this out. So this latest report, Rubio skipping Ukraine talks as Zelensky rebuffs U.S. on Crimea. Now, what we're finding out is that Zelensky, in his version of the peace plan, says that that Russia has to give up Crimea. Now, Crimea was taken by Russia in 2014 when Obama was president. It's been part of Russia for the last 10 years. The vast majority of Crimea's population is ethnic Russians. They speak Russian. They don't speak Ukrainian. And basically their polling shows they want to be part of Russia. It's very similar to the Donbass, except that Russia's owned it for the last 10 years. And now all of a sudden, Zelensky is demanding that they return Crimea as a precursor to peace talks in this war. the man who holds really none of the cards, because his military, at best, might be able to prevent Russian advances into the rest of the country. But he does not have the military strength to retake really anything. He does not have the ability to push Russia out of Ukraine. So they've got to go to a negotiated settlement. But now he is doing this. And there's one thing to take, as a maximalist position, as a negotiating point, and then be willing to back off. But evidently, he's taken this as an ideological, intractable point and is not willing to back off. So Russia's like, he's not serious. And now the US is looking and saying, we don't think this guy's serious. And the US might be out on this, which is going to be a loser for everybody. Now let's dive back in.
If an end to the Ukraine-Russia war is possible, Ukrainian officials have signed an agreement in the lead up to a full minerals deal, which is expected on Thursday. Here to discuss, a special envoy to Ukraine, General Keith Kellogg. General, thank you so much for joining us. So, first of all, what do we know about this minerals deal, and why is it good for the United States?
Yeah, Charlie, thanks for having me. Good to be with you this morning. Look, it's a great deal, and what it does, it provides us minerals, precious metals that we really don't have here in the United States at a large number. We're talking when I'm talking monetary terms. And for example, titanium. Titanium we imported, they exported. It's things we can use for our industry, and it's very, very important. But let me do a quick pivot to you. Secretary Rubio said just a minute ago when we just came out of Paris, just got in last night, from what happened in Paris when we talked to the E3, the Brits, the Germans, and the French, and then the Ukrainians were there as well, where we had Sibia, their foreign minister, we had Yermak, the chief of staff, and we also had Umarov, their minister of defense, and then Secretary Rubio had his two flankers, as I'll call them, Steve Witkoff and myself with him as well. And we talked about going forward with a potential ceasefire in the near term, and that's the reason we're returning to London this week to actually lock that down. And I think there's tremendous opportunities. Look, Charlie, President Trump has done more in 90 days to solve this war, the largest war in Europe since World War II, than they did in the previous 900 plus days. And he's driving this towards solutions. And one thing I noticed with President Trump, and been with him before, is don't give him a problem unless you have a solution. And I think we've got a pretty good solution set. The minerals deal is one of them. Also go to a comprehensive ceasefire. When I talk about a comprehensive ceasefire, it's sea, air, land, industrial as well, for a period of at least 30 days, and then it builds to a longer peace deal, a permanent peace deal as well. And I think we're on a good path. I know it's hard, it's really difficult, but I think if it wasn't for President Trump, we wouldn't be where we're at today, and he's driving us towards a conclusion.
Absolutely. The problem right now seems to be the Ukraine. That's what all fingers are pointing to right now. So check out this, and we're going to get into a couple other posts. Trump, Russia is ready. Zelensky is the holdout. Trump just dropped a bombshell update on the Russia peace talks. We have a deal. Russia's ready. But Zelensky, he's dragging his feet. Putin is ready to talk. And as some proof of that, there was actually a press conference by the Russian foreign minister where he talks about their peace proposal. Check this out.
Сказал президент Путин в июне нынешнего года, необходимо рассматривать с точки зрения реалий на земле. Наша позиция ясна. Никакого вступления в НАТО, нейтральный статус, решение проблем населения русскоязычного и русского, которое было в грубейшее нарушение устава ООН, многочисленных конвенций, лишено права что-либо делать на своем родном языке. Уничтожается Украинская православная церковь, тоже в нарушении устава ООН и многочисленных конвенций. И, безусловно, Украина, мы не примем никакого варианта, когда Украина сохранит возможность использоваться Западом для создания прямых угроз Российской Федерации.
So, not necessarily an out-of-the-bounds proposal. No NATO membership, neutral status, restoration of the rights of the Russian population in the eastern regions of Donbass, restoration of the Russian Orthodox Church and its rights. No possibility for the West to use Ukraine as a proxy again. And so this is where one of the sticking points for Russia is a multinational peacekeeping force being stationed in Ukraine. I think that's a major problem for them. Now, maybe if it was under the auspices of the UN, it might be possible. And they want to obviously retain their taken territories, Crimea and actual Donbass and that sort of thing. So this is something that can be worked with. You may not like this peace proposal, but this one is in the realm of possibility. The Ukraine or Russia giving up Crimea, which it's held for the last 10 years, is not really. Check this out, as Trump even signified himself after Zelensky made that claim. Ukrainian President Zelensky is boasting on the front page of the Wall Street Journal, Ukraine will not legally recognize the occupation of Crimea. There's nothing to talk about here. This statement is very harmful to peace negotiations with Russia. Crimea was lost years ago, 10 years ago to be exact, under the auspices of Barack Obama, and is not even a point of discussion. It never has been. Nobody is asking Zelensky to recognize Crimea as Russian territory, but if he wants Crimea, why didn't they fight for it 11 years ago when it was handed over to Russia, really without a shot being fired? He's right. The fact that Zelensky is demanding the return of Ukraine is a major, major problem. Now, for those of you, or not those of you, but those out there, especially the propaganda media, whining that, oh, Trump is just on the side of Russia. Trump has also had some very pointed words for Russia in this whole thing as well. I am not happy with the Russian strikes on Kiev. Not necessary and very bad timing. Vladimir, stop. 5,000 soldiers a week are dying. Let's get this peace deal done. Absolutely. So Trump is moving forward on a minerals deal with Ukraine. At the same time, he is lambasting Zelensky on his intractable, stupid position and also calling Russia to task over their attacks. They are close to a peace deal. Can they get it over the line? I don't know. It really comes down to first Zelensky. If they can get Zelensky to back off of Crimea so that they can have a framework that leads to a possible peace negotiation, they get all sides to the table and maybe they can get something done. It'll take both sides, but Zelensky's got to be the first one to blink over this stupid Crimea nonsense. Then maybe they've got something. Otherwise, you might see, as Rubio said, the U.S. exit this situation and basically, they might sanction Russia severely. They might they're probably not going to support. There'll be no money for Ukraine. There'll probably be no more weapons. We'll see what happens. But right now, the leverage, the U.S. doesn't necessarily have the leverage because they've already signaled, we'll back off. You guys go fight it out. You want to fight for Crimea? Yeah, go fight and die for it. Let us know when you've had enough. To the Russian Federation, you want to fight and die over this nonsense? Let us know when you've had enough. But that's where we stand with the right. It's so close. If we can just get world leaders to have an ounce of sense, we might be able to get this over the line. Now, last segment that I want to get to. Thanks again, everybody, for being here. Little Joe, thanks for rolling up. Really appreciate you. Please like, subscribe, comment. Let us know how we're doing. Also, if you like the content, please share it with everybody that you know. Help us to grow the channel. Last segment for today. For those of you who may not know, Klaus Schwab is out at the World Economic Forum, which is a great thing because Klaus Schwab is basically a demon. He's terrible. He's the one that you will eat the bugs and you will own nothing and like it. Terrible, terrible organization bent on reformulating the old European aristocracy in the form of the new CCP model technocracy. They want a permanent ruling establishment class and they want a permanent serfdom class. That's what they're looking for. Hence, you will eat bugs and you will like it. You will own nothing and you will like it. No more cars, none of this nonsense. He's out. He's not out because hey, I'm retiring. No, he's out because he was caught full of corruption. He was caught basically, peddling a $50 million World Economic Forum, villa as his personal residence, fixing it up with, donor money. He's taking first-class trips everywhere. He's peddling bringing his family everywhere. Basically, he has been siphoning off, this conference's money and living high on the hog. So he is out. But who is his replacement going to be? Well, it's been announced that the replacement will be Peter Brabeck, another corporate overlord, former CEO of Nestle, is now the head of the World Economic Forum. And that is bad. It's probably even worse. Well, maybe not. Probably worse than Klaus Schwab, but it's certainly along the same vein. Check this out.
Hello, I'm Peter Pravec, the chairman of Nestle. There are apparently some misconceptions about my ideas on water. Let me make it clear from the beginning. I have always supported the human right to water. Everyone should have enough clean, safe water to meet their fundamental daily needs. About 50 to 100 liters per day. But not to fill a pool or wash a car. There is a difference.
Everybody should have the right to water, as long as it's only 50 liters a day. But God forbid you have a pool or wash your car or take a shower. You can't do any of that. No, that's left for us elites, because I've got to wash my G5. I've got to wash my 787 private jet. I've got to wash my 57 Bentleys. No, this is absolutely egregious. Now, it wouldn't be, if it was just his saying this, it may not be as bad. But Nestle, through Brabeck, while he was CEO, was actively gathering up water rights and water supplies, bottling them and selling them back, especially in poor regions in Africa, where they would go control the water source, dry up rivers, dry up streams, dry up lakes and reservoirs, bottle that water and sell it to the populace at huge profits, essentially enslaving the populace to water, which, if you didn't know, as a human condition, you need water basically every single day. You cannot go more than 4 days without water or you will die. It's terrible. I mean, it's way more than food. It's way more important and necessary even than food. The only thing more important and necessary and urgent than water is air. And I guarantee you that if these fools had their way, they would figure out some way to essentially control that and sell it back to you as well. Now, what they are looking for, under Klaus Schwab, it was basically food and data. And now under Brabeck, they're adding water to it. These are the same billionaires now, mind you, that have destroyed California with some of this nonsense. Remember that one of the problems in California is there's a billionaire family that owns a lot of the water resources, and they have directed them into for-profit ventures and away from the farmland that used to be vibrant in the center west of California. That is now essentially a desert, because they redirected that water. Some of it just threw into the ocean so that they could make it scarce, so they could drive up the price, so they could own it and sell it. This is the same model that Brabeck is going after. So now, instead of just food and data, they want the food, the data, and they want to control your water as well. They absolutely want you to own nothing and like it, and to eat bugs. Eat the bugs, drink the bottled water that we sell you. This is who they are. Make no mistake, the World Economic Forum is not dead yet. It might be dying because of what Trump and Maloney and the president of Hungary and others are doing, but it is not dead yet. It is up to us to make sure that this deep state, this establishment state, globalist cabal, World Economic Forum, and everybody associated with it is thrust out of power. Just want to let you know what's going on. Really appreciate everybody rolling up. Resnap in the house. Thanks so much for being here. You're right. Water could be the new oil. Thanks, everybody. Please like, subscribe, comment. Everybody put comments in there, comments for the algorithm. And if you like this content, please share it with everybody that you know. Help us to grow the channel. Right now, we are on the wrong side of whatever YouTube algorithm. We are monetized. Hallelujah. So if you could, please join us as a member on YouTube. Support us on Patreon. Really appreciate everybody rolling up. Thanks for being here. Remember, God is good and he is sovereign. It'll all be good in the end. Till I catch you next time. Thanks for being here.